The call came at 2:47 a.m. I had been half asleep on my couch, the glow of a late-night infomercial flickering over the walls of my apartment. My phone buzzed against the cheap particle board coffee table, its caller ID flashing an unknown number. I hesitated before answering. "This is Eric." A mechanical voice crackled on the other end, distorted like it was coming through an old speaker.
"ATM malfunction. Urgent repair required. Chase Bank, Mack Avenue branch. Authorization code 713.
I frowned, rubbing my eyes. "Who is this?" The line clicked dead. My stomach tightened. Normally, these kinds of service requests came through an automated dispatch, never from an unlisted number. But Chase paid me well for their graveyard shift repairs, and I couldn't afford to lose the gig. I sighed, grabbing my tool bag and company badge. Outside, Detroit was a city caught between the past and something that refused to die. Rusting factories loomed in the distance like broken teeth. Potholes swallowed chunks of the road. By the time I pulled up to the Mack Avenue branch, the street was completely deserted. The bank was closed, its front doors locked, but the ATM vestibule remained lit. The bright blue Chase logo hummed softly over the sidewalk. I could hear the faint buzz of electricity in the cold night air. I parked across the street, stepping out of my truck. The smell of wet pavement and old metal filled my nose. Something about the bank felt wrong. I wasn't sure why. Maybe it was the way the streetlights flickered unevenly, or the way my reflection in the ATM glass seemed slightly out of sync with my movements. Shaking the feeling off, I grabbed my tools and stepped inside the vestibule. The ATM was still running, its screen displaying an error message I'd never seen before. Error code 0313, system recognition failure. That wasn't a real error. I knelt down, pried open the maintenance panel, and reached for my flashlight. Then I saw it. A note, folded neatly inside the machine. Not printed, not company issued, handwritten, in my own handwriting. The note was creased, slightly damp. The ink smudged like it had been written in a hurry. I unfolded it. The first thing I noticed was that it was written in my own handwriting. Not just similar. Exact. My name was at the top, scrawled in a shaky, urgent script. "Eric, read carefully. Follow the rules. Do not break them." A prickle of unease crawled up my spine. I scanned the paper, my breath catching as I read the list beneath it. Rules for fixing the ATM. Rule 1. Do not turn off the machine, no matter what happens. Rule 2. If the screen displays anything other than an error message, do not interact. Wait 60 seconds before proceeding. Rule 3. If money is dispensed without prompting, do not take it. Do not touch it. Do not acknowledge it. Rule 4. If you hear the receipt printer activate but no receipt comes out, leave immediately. The shift is over. Rule 5. If the machine dispenses a bill with blood on it, you must complete the repair within 10 minutes. Do not fail. Rule 6. If someone knocks on the glass outside, do not look up. If they call your name, leave through the back door and do not return. Rule 7. If at any point the screen displays your own reflection, stop work immediately. Leave all tools behind and exit the building. You are no longer the one doing the repairs. My fingers trembled as I gripped the paper. This had to be a joke. Some asshole tech before me must have written it as a prank, left it behind for the next poor bastard. But the way it was written, the desperation in the words, it felt like a warning. I swallowed hard, glancing at the security camera in the corner of the vestibule. Its red light blinked lazily, unbothered by the fact that I was standing there, clutching a letter supposedly written by me. I looked back at the ATM screen. The error 0313 message still glowed on the display. The machine hummed softly. Nothing abnormal. Forcing myself to breathe, I stuffed the note into my pocket and reached for my tool bag. I would reset the system, run a basic diagnostic, and get the hell out of here. But as I pried open the panel, something changed on the screen. The glow shifted. A darkened reflection looked back at me. Not the room, not the ceiling, just me. But my reflection wasn't moving. I didn't move. The reflection on the ATM screen remained perfectly still, though I could feel my chest rising and falling, my breath uneven. This had to be a trick, a glitch in the screen, maybe a delayed refresh rate. I raised my hand. The reflection didn't. A deep, ice-cold feeling settled in my gut. Rule 7. If the screen displays your own reflection, stop work immediately. Leave all tools behind and exit the building. You are no longer the one doing the repairs. I reached for my tool bag, slowly, carefully. Then, the ATM beeped. The screen flickered. The reflection was gone. I exhaled sharply, gripping the edge of the machine to steady myself. Maybe it was just exhaustion, a late-night hallucination brought on by too much caffeine and too little sleep. Then the receipt printer whirred to life. Rule 4. If you hear the receipt printer activate but no receipt comes out, leave immediately. The shift is over. I stepped back. The machine clicked and whirred, but nothing came out. The tiny slit where receipts should print remained empty. A sharp electric hum filled the air, deep enough that I could feel it in my teeth. Then, with a soft mechanical sigh, the ATM dispensed a single dollar bill. I stared at it. It was folded. The edges were damp. Something dark and red had seeped into the fabric of the paper. Blood. Rule 5. If the machine dispenses a bill with blood on it, you must complete the repair within 10 minutes. Do not fail. My pulse slammed against my ribs. I reached for my phone to check the time. 3:06 a.m. If I followed the rules, that meant I had until 3:16 a.m. to finish the repair. Except, what the hell was I even repairing? The machine wasn't jammed. It wasn't offline. It was doing this on purpose. I fumbled with my tools, sweat beading on my forehead, as I ripped open the lower panel, searching for anything out of place. The circuits looked normal. The cash vault was untouched. The machine's internal log still displayed the error 0313 message, but it wasn't frozen. Then, the security camera flickered. My eyes darted up to the corner of the room. The red recording light was off. The feed was dead. I wasn't being watched anymore. I was alone. The ATM beeped again. On the screen, the error message was gone. A new prompt had appeared. Do you accept? The yes and no buttons blinked slowly, waiting for input. I had no idea what would happen if I pressed yes. Or worse, if I pressed no. The note in my pocket had given me rules. But what if the rules were never meant to help me? What if they were forcing me to play a game I didn't understand? The machine clicked loudly. A second blood-stained dollar bill slid out. I had 4 minutes left. I had to decide. I had 3 minutes left. The ATM screen still displayed the same question. Do you accept? The yes and no buttons pulsed, waiting. Another blood-stained bill slid out. I didn't take it. I didn't even move. Somewhere in the back of my mind, a terrible thought was forming. What happens if I don't answer? The hum of the ATM deepened, like an old machine struggling to breathe. The screen flickered, and then the surveillance camera feed came back on. For a moment, I almost felt relieved. Then I saw the screen. The feed wasn't showing the vestibule. It was showing inside the ATM. My stomach twisted. That wasn't possible. But the image on the screen was grainy, lit by the machine's internal LEDs. It showed the inside of the cash vault, the circuit boards, the mechanical rollers, and then something moved. A shape, barely visible in the cramped space, shifting just beneath the stacks of bills. A hand. I staggered back, my breath caught in my throat. It was a human hand, pressed against the glass inside the vault. The fingers twitched. Something was inside the ATM. I swallowed, my pulse roaring in my ears. The hand pressed harder against the glass, the skin pale and stretched too thin, the knuckles sharp. Then, as I stared, the fingers moved, tapping. The same pattern I'd heard earlier. I choked on my breath, stepping back so fast I hit the opposite wall. The hand on the screen twitched again, then slid away, disappearing deeper into the machine. The ATM let out a soft beep. A new line of text appeared. "Do not keep me waiting." The buttons for yes and no pulsed faster. I reached for my phone, fumbling to check the time. 3:15 a.m. 1 minute left. The ATM beeped again. And then, the security feed changed. The vestibule appeared on screen now, showing me standing in front of the ATM. But something was wrong. My reflection was in the glass of the ATM. But on the screen, my reflection was facing the wrong way. In the footage, I wasn't looking at the machine. I was looking at myself. The figure in the screen tilted its head. Then, with slow, jerking movements, it raised its hand and pressed its fingers against the glass. I couldn't breathe, because the fingers weren't touching the outside of the ATM. They were touching the inside. The reflection wasn't me. I was inside the machine. I staggered backward, my mind fracturing under the impossibility of it. The ATM whirred violently, the cash dispenser opening again. This time it wasn't money that came out. It was a crumpled receipt. My hands shook as I reached for it. The paper was cold to the touch. And there, printed in the same blocky mechanical font, was a single message. "You have been approved." The ATM beeped one final time. Then the screen went black. The vestibule lights flickered violently, then died. For the first time that night, I wasn't sure if I was still real. The lights in the vestibule flickered erratically, casting deep, jagged shadows along the walls. The ATM screen was black now, silent, waiting. I clutched the crumpled receipt in my hands. The words printed on it echoed in my mind. "You have been approved." Approved for what? I ran a shaking hand over my face, my breathing uneven. I needed to get out of here. Then, the receipt printer activated again. A soft mechanical whir filled the space, followed by the rhythmic clicking of the rollers. Another receipt slid out. I didn't want to take it, but my hands moved on their own, my fingers grasping the thin slip of paper. The ink was smudged, slightly damp, like it had been printed on something old. My eyes scanned the text, and my blood turned to ice. Account balance. Negative infinity. Negative infinity? I stared at the screen, my mind struggling to process what I was looking at. That wasn't a real number. That wasn't possible. The ATM let out a soft beep, and then a second receipt printed. My stomach twisted violently as I reached for it. The text was short, simple. "Insufficient funds. Transaction voided." I exhaled, my chest tightening. Something was horribly wrong. I tried to step away, but my body felt heavy, slow, like something was pulling at me. The ATM whirred again. This time it wasn't printing anything. The cash dispenser slid open, but instead of bills, something else pushed its way out. A hand, pale, thin, pressed against the inside of the slot. I stumbled backward, slamming against the glass doors of the vestibule, my breath catching in my throat. The fingers twitched. Then, they started pushing outward. Something was trying to crawl out of the ATM. The hand bent unnaturally, the fingers flexing as if testing the air. The wrist followed, thin and sickly, stretching out of the dispenser like it didn't belong to anything human. Then, it grabbed the edge of the machine and pulled. I choked back a scream. A face began to emerge. No eyes, no mouth, just a smooth, featureless head, stretching like a reflection smeared across glass. The air in the vestibule grew thick, suffocating. The walls seemed smaller now, like they were pressing inward. The thing lurched forward, its head jerking toward me. Then, the ATM screen lit up. A single word appeared in bold, glowing text: "Leave." The hand froze. The machine let out a high-pitched whine, like something deep inside was failing. Then, the hand snapped backward. The pale, eyeless face vanished. The ATM shut itself down. I stood there, my entire body trembling. The vestibule was silent again. The screen displayed nothing but a blank, waiting glow. I didn't wait to see if it would turn back on. I grabbed my tool bag, shoved open the door, and stumbled into the cold Detroit air. The city was still silent, but something felt different. Like it knew I had seen too much, and worse. Like I had left a piece of myself inside that machine. The cold air hit my skin like a slap. I stood on the cracked sidewalk, the glow of the Chase Bank sign flickering weakly overhead. My breath was ragged, my fingers still trembling as I gripped my tool bag. I had to get out of here. I turned toward my truck, parked across the street under a busted streetlight. Then, my phone rang. A sharp, shrill tone cut through the silent street, vibrating against my thigh. I hesitated. Rule 6. If someone knocks on the glass outside, do not look up. If they call your name, leave through the back door and do not return. No one had knocked, but someone was calling my name. I reached for my phone. The screen was black. The call wasn't coming from any number, just a single word glowing on the screen: ATM. My stomach dropped. I swallowed, my mouth dry. The ringing continued, relentless, drilling into my skull. I shouldn't answer. I knew I shouldn't. But my fingers moved on their own, my thumb swiping across the screen. I pressed the phone to my ear. Silence. Not dead air, not static, just absence. Then, a voice. Not mine, not anyone I knew, but familiar, software breathing. You withdrew yourself. My entire body locked up. The voice was right next to my ear, not through the phone, behind me. I turned. The Chase Bank ATM screen was on again, and on the screen was me. Not a reflection, not a video feed, just me. My face, staring directly into the camera, screaming silently. My mouth was open, stretched unnaturally wide, but no sound came from the screen. Then, the face moved. Not me. Not the real me. The face on the screen blinked. Then, in a voice that shouldn't be mine, it whispered my childhood nickname. My stomach flipped. Nobody knew that name. Not here. Not anymore. That was a name from before. From when I was a kid. From when my mom used to. The screen flickered violently. Transaction pending. I stumbled back. No, I was done with this. I turned and ran. Not to my truck, to the alley behind the bank. Away from the machine, away from the impossible things it was trying to show me. The streetlights overhead buzzed and flickered as I passed beneath them, like the power grid itself was glitching. I could hear the ATM behind me, beeping frantically, the printer spitting out receipt after receipt onto the sidewalk. Then, footsteps. Not mine. Behind me, close. Too close. I didn't stop running until I reached the end of the block, my lungs burning. I turned, chest heaving. The street was empty. No people, no cars. But the ATM screen was still on. Even from here, I could see it. The face on the screen was watching me. And it was smiling. I didn't go home. I didn't go back to my truck. I just walked, fast. Away from the Chase Bank ATM. away from the thing wearing my face on the screen. The streets of Detroit were quiet, but something felt wrong. The streetlights buzzed overhead, flickering, their glow too cold, too artificial. I didn't know where I was going. My body moved on instinct, trying to put distance between me and whatever had just happened. Then, the receipt printer whirred, not from the ATM, from my pocket. I stopped dead. I reached in, fingers shaking, and pulled out a crumpled slip of paper. But I hadn't taken any receipts. I unfolded it, my breath catching. The text wasn't the same as before. It wasn't showing my balance. It was showing my future. Your transaction has been processed. Replacement pending, 3:33 a.m. Replacement? I checked my phone, 3:29 a.m. My chest tightened. I turned a corner, stepping into the glow of a flickering neon sign. A 24-hour laundromat. Empty. Silent. The glass door slid open with a soft chime. The scent of detergent and something metallic filled my nose. I wasn't planning to stay. I just needed a second. A moment to breathe. Then, the machine in the corner beeped. An ATM. I froze. This wasn't a Chase Bank machine. It wasn't connected to where I had just been. It was just a standard cash dispenser in a laundromat. But the screen was glowing, and it was waiting for me. I stepped forward slowly, my pulse pounding. A new receipt printed. I didn't touch it. The paper fluttered to the ground, landing face up. I forced myself to read it. Welcome, Eric. Transaction complete. I took a step back. The laundromat suddenly felt too quiet. Then, the machine clicked. A second receipt printed. And this time, I recognized the date. Because it was from the future. Withdrawal date, February 17th, 2083. That was 50 years from now. The hairs on the back of my neck rose. I checked my phone again. 3:32 a.m. 1 minute. I turned to leave. The sliding door didn't open. The fluorescent lights buzzed violently. The laundromat's washing machines started turning on, one by one, spinning with nothing inside them. Then, the ATM spat out a photograph. My hands were shaking as I picked it up. The photo was old, the edges yellowed, curling, and in the image, it was me. But I was old. My face was lined with age, my eyes hollow, staring blankly. My hair was thin, my hands wrinkled. I was sitting inside the ATM, trapped, waiting. The last thing I saw before the laundromat lights cut out completely was my own reflection in the ATM screen, and the version of me inside it was grinning. The laundromat was dead silent. The only thing still glowing was the ATM screen, and my face was still inside it. Not my reflection, not a video feed. Mr. On, older version of me, trapped inside the glass, staring blankly out like a man looking through a window from the wrong side. My hands clenched into fists. No, I whispered. This isn't real. The fluorescent lights flickered once, violently, then died completely. The ATM beeped, and then a new message appeared on the screen. Final transaction processing. Please wait. I staggered back, my breath ragged. I checked my phone. 3:32 a.m. I had 1 minute left. I turned toward the glass door. The street outside was empty, silent. Then, a shadow moved. I froze. Something was standing just beyond the glass. It was a man, or at least it looked like one. Same height as me, same building. But it was wrong. Its face was blurred, shifting, like I was looking at it through warped glass. Then, slowly, it raised its hand and pressed its fingers against the door. A shudder crawled up my spine. The figure leaned closer, its shape becoming clearer. And then, I realized, it was me. The same face, same hands, same clothes. I staggered back. No, 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 no. The ATM beeped again. Replacement initiated. I turned just in time to see the reflection inside the screen begin to move. The version of me inside the glass blinked, slowly, like waking from a long sleep. Then, it smiled. The lights in the laundromat exploded. The machines rattled violently, their doors swinging open and slamming shut. I backed against the ATM, my pulse thundering. Then, the door slid open, and the thing outside stepped in. I couldn't move. It moved like a glitching video, stuttering, jerking forward in unnatural increments. I ran, but my body didn't move. I tried to scream, but my mouth didn't open. My limbs felt heavy, frozen, like I was trapped in thick, invisible tar. The figure, my replacement, walked forward, and I was pulled back. Not physically, not by hands, but by something stronger, like a vacuum in my chest, pulling me inward, forcing me toward the screen. My vision blurred, the room stretched, and then I was inside. The cold glass surface sealed around me like water. The last thing I saw was my own body walking away, stepping out of the laundromat, into my life, into the world. And then, the screen went dark. I don't know how much time has passed. The screen flickers on sometimes, and I can see the real world. Or maybe it's not real at all. Maybe I'm not real anymore. I hear the receipts print. I see the transactions. People come and go, swiping their cards, entering their PINs. They never see me. But sometimes, someone hesitates. They look at the glass for a second too long. Their eyes flicker with confusion. And for just a moment, they see me. I wait. Because one day, another name will print. Another balance will be negative infinity, and it will be their turn to be withdrawn.